They say men are simple, but that's a lie. Men might chase beauty, crave passion, and fall for charm, but they stay for something far deeper. Not your looks, not your body, not even your love. What truly makes a man fall deeply, hopelessly, and forever is one invisible boundary that most women never set. It's the line that silently says, "I am not yours to control." When a woman draws that line with quiet confidence, something shifts inside a man, a mix of respect, desire, and emotional security that no words can explain. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about understanding emotional power, the kind that makes love last. The boundary of emotional independence is not built on pride, ego, or arrogance. It's built on peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. When a woman stands rooted in her own emotional world, something about her energy shifts. She no longer needs reassurance to feel worthy. She no longer needs constant attention to feel seen. She becomes her own calm. That's what a man feels when he's around her. That silent, unshakable energy that says, "I'm okay with or without you." And that's where his heart begins to anchor itself. A woman who has emotional independence doesn't demand love, she inspires it. Because she's not desperate for connection, her presence becomes magnetic. Her energy carries a balance that's rare. Warm yet composed, open yet grounded. She knows that affection given out of emptiness will always lead to pain, so she fills herself first. She has her rituals, her passions, her world, and when a man enters, he steps into a space that's already whole. That wholeness draws him in. It's not about what she says or does. It's what she is. A woman who can sit with herself in silence is a woman who doesn't fear solitude, and a man senses that instinctively. He realizes she's not using love as a crutch. She's not trying to be completed, and that subtle difference changes everything. Because when love is born from independence, it becomes a choice, not a dependency. He doesn't feel trapped or burdened. He feels free, yet deeply connected. A man falls in love not when a woman gives him everything, but when she shows she could have everything without him, yet still chooses him. That's emotional independence in its purest form. She doesn't react to his moods, doesn't collapse under his silence, doesn't measure her worth by how much attention he gives. She simply exists with grace. Her calmness becomes contagious, her strength comforting. He sees her handling life's storms with elegance, and in his heart, admiration replaces fear. Emotional independence teaches him that love isn't about losing oneself. It's about finding peace together without losing individuality. And once he experiences that balance, he'll never want anything else again. Because the love of an emotionally independent woman doesn't imprison, it liberates. The boundary of self-respect is the invisible armor every powerful woman wears. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it speaks louder than any word she could say. When a woman holds her self-respect close, she sets the tone for how she will be treated. She no longer accepts half-effort, broken promises, or emotional games disguised as love. She knows what she deserves, and she refuses to negotiate her worth just to keep someone in her life. This quiet strength doesn't push real men away. It draws them closer. Because true men recognize that a woman who honors herself is a woman who will also honor love. Self-respect is the moment she stops begging for clarity and instead chooses peace. It's the strength to walk away when her soul feels disrespected, even if her heart still cares. It's the decision to stop explaining why she deserves better, because she knows that anyone who truly values her won't need convincing. When a man witnesses this kind of grace, something changes inside him. He begins to see her differently. She's no longer just another woman. She becomes the standard. The way she carries herself with dignity, boundaries, and softness becomes the rhythm his heart learns to respect. A woman who embodies self-respect doesn't need to raise her voice. Her silence becomes a message, her absence a lesson. She doesn't compete, doesn't chase, and doesn't cling, because she understands that anything she has to beg for will never bring her peace. Her energy says, I want love, but I don't need validation. I desire connection, but not at the cost of my value. And that energy is what turns ordinary attraction into deep admiration. Men fall in love with what they respect, and a man can only respect a woman who respects herself first. He sees her standards not as walls, but as signals. Signals that tell him this woman cannot be toyed with, cannot be bought with attention, and cannot be kept with manipulation. She's not testing him, she's protecting her peace. And that protection makes him feel something: rare accountability. He starts wanting to rise to meet her energy, to be worthy of her calm confidence. Because deep down, every man knows the woman who refuses to lower her worth for love is the one who is truly unforgettable. The boundary of selective access is what separates a woman who gives her energy away from a woman who protects it like gold. Not everyone deserves her time, her attention, or her emotional investment. And she knows that. She doesn't give herself freely just because someone shows interest. She observes, she feels, and she allows people to reveal who they truly are before deciding how deeply they can enter her world. That's not coldness, that's emotional maturity. She understands that her presence is a privilege, not a possession. When a man senses that he has to earn his place in her life, he begins to value her differently. Selective access means she doesn't open her heart just because someone offers temporary warmth. She's seen how quickly words can fade, how easily promises can break, so now she pays attention to consistency. She's learned that connection without effort is nothing but illusion. Her love is not up for sale, her energy not for everyone to drain. When she chooses to give, it's intentional, rare, and deeply meaningful. That's what makes her unforgettable. Because her attention isn't easy to win, but once given, it feels pure. A man quickly realizes that she's not chasing validation. She's not available at every call, not accessible at every hour. Not because she's playing games, but because she values her focus, peace, her growth. She invests her time where there's respect, her care where there's effort, and her love where there's alignment. This boundary creates a powerful dynamic. It teaches a man that access to her life is something to be earned, not expected. And when he earns it, he treats it like treasure. A woman who practices selective access moves with quiet confidence. She doesn't need to announce her worth, she shows it through her boundaries. Her energy says, "You can approach me, but not everyone gets to stay." That's what makes men fall, because scarcity creates value. When love feels rare, it becomes sacred. The more she protects her emotional space, the more deeply he respects it. And over time, that respect turns into devotion, because he knows that in a world full of easy attention and shallow affection, she's the woman who doesn't give herself to just anyone. And that makes her the one worth fighting for. The boundary of emotional control is the art of staying calm in the chaos that love can bring. It's the power of a woman who feels everything deeply, but doesn't let her emotions dictate her actions. She knows that not every feeling deserves a reaction. Not every argument needs a reply, and not every silence requires panic. She's learned that the person who controls her emotions controls her life, and she refuses to hand that power away. When a woman moves with that kind of emotional discipline, she becomes magnetic, her peace becomes her strength, and her composure becomes the quiet force that captures a man's respect. A woman with emotional control doesn't chase answers. If a man becomes distant, she doesn't crumble, she observes. If he tests her limits, she doesn't lose her temper, she adjusts her distance. Her energy remains centered, steady, unshaken. This kind of control doesn't come from indifference, but from deep self-awareness. She's been through storms before, the ones that taught her that reacting out of fear or insecurity only feeds the very chaos she wants to escape. So now, she chooses silence over shouting, reflection over revenge, patience over panic. A man can feel that difference instantly. Her calm disarms him. Her composure confuses him. Not because she's detached, but because she refuses to be emotionally predictable. He can't manipulate her with distance, can't provoke her with inconsistency, and can't win power through her reactions. Instead, he finds himself drawn to her strength, that quiet, steady presence that says, "You don't control how I feel, I do." See, when a woman stays grounded in her emotions, she forces a man to rise to her level. Her calm energy becomes contagious, her balance becomes his mirror. He starts thinking before speaking, respecting before reacting, because he realizes he's dealing with a woman who doesn't operate from impulse. She operates from wisdom. And that wisdom makes him feel safe, seen, and challenged all at once. Emotional control isn't about being distant, it's about being deliberate. It's knowing that love doesn't require chaos to be real. It's the boundary that turns emotional intensity into emotional depth. And when a man experiences that, a woman who feels deeply but remains centered, he doesn't just admire her, he trusts her. And that trust is where love truly begins to last forever. The boundary of personal purpose is what separates a woman who merely exists from a woman who truly lives. It's the fire that keeps her spirit alive even when love fades, the direction that guides her even when relationships become uncertain. A woman who has a purpose beyond romance carries an aura that no man can define and no heartbreak can destroy. She doesn't look to a man to complete her story because she's already writing one on her own. Her dreams, her passions, her goals, they give her life meaning beyond anyone's presence. And that sense of direction becomes irresistibly attractive. When a woman lives with purpose, she moves differently. Her energy is not desperate, it's driven. She doesn't wait for a man to give her a reason to wake up inspired. She already has one. Whether it's building her career, creating something beautiful, or simply growing into her best self, her path keeps her grounded. She may love deeply, but she never loses herself in that love. She knows that a relationship should add to her life, not become her life. That's what a man feels when he meets her, the rare balance of independence and intimacy. A purposeful woman doesn't chase, she attracts, because men sense that she's not living for attention, she's living for alignment. Her life has momentum, her soul has direction. And that energy pulls the right kind of man toward her, the one who respects her path instead of trying to redirect it. Her purpose becomes her protection. It shields her from settling, from losing herself, from staying in places that dim her light. A man falls in love not just with her, but with her vision. He admires the way she speaks about her goals, the way her eyes light up when she talks about what matters to her. Her drive makes him want to grow, her focus makes him reflect. Because love with a woman who has purpose isn't a distraction, it's a partnership. It inspires him to find his own meaning too. When a woman knows her purpose, she becomes unforgettable. Her happiness isn't tied to how someone treats her, but to how true she stays to herself. And that self-fulfillment creates a powerful kind of love, the kind that isn't built on need, but on mutual respect and inspiration. That's the boundary that makes a man fall and stay forever. The boundary of detachment is the quiet strength that separates genuine love from emotional dependency. It's the ability to love deeply while still knowing when to let go. A woman who has mastered detachment doesn't stop caring, she simply stops clinging. She understands that love loses its purity when it turns into possession. So she loves with an open hand, not a closed fist. Her heart is soft, but her soul is free. And that freedom makes her unforgettable. When a man meets a woman who can walk away with peace instead of pain, he realizes she's not held by fear, she's guided by self-worth. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means emotional intelligence. It's knowing that not every connection is meant to last forever, and that losing someone doesn't mean losing yourself. A detached woman doesn't beg for love to stay because she trusts that what's meant for her will never require chasing. She can miss someone and still move forward. She can care deeply but still choose silence. She can feel everything yet still remain in control. That balance between love and independence is what keeps her powerful even in vulnerability. A man feels that energy the moment he tests her limits. He realizes he can't manipulate her with attention or absence. Her emotions aren't a switch he can turn on and off. When she senses disrespect or inconsistency, she doesn't react. She withdraws, not to punish, but to protect her peace. And that withdrawal speaks louder than words. It reminds him that her love is a gift, not a guarantee, that no matter how much she feels for him, she'll never sacrifice her peace just to be chosen. This kind of detachment creates a deep, lasting respect, because a man starts to see that she's not staying out of fear of loneliness. She's staying out of genuine desire. That realization changes the entire dynamic. He no longer takes her presence for granted because he knows she could leave at any moment and do it gracefully. She doesn't cling to him to fill her emptiness, she chooses him to share her fullness. And that's the paradox of true detachment. The less she needs him, the more he needs her. The more peaceful she becomes, the more deeply he falls. Because a woman who can walk away with love still in her heart is the one a man will never forget.